name is Eric Schorr. I grew up in Fishkill, New York, and currently reside in the Albany, New York area. So when Woodstock came out, I was living in Fishkill, New York. I think it was on the, well, I heard about Woodstock '94, there was news articles that were coming up, like, they were putting on this concert, and I don't think I really thought much about it. But then we went into a restaurant one time and they had a contest to win 2 tickets to the concert. And nobody ever thinks that you're gonna win tickets to a concert, but I actually had a call a couple weeks later after the entry and said, congratulations, you won. So what I was doing at that time is I was between my freshman year and sophomore year of college. I went to a SUNY school up in upstate, and was home for the summer, just working, trying to make some money. And then when I got word that I had won the tickets, I was immediately on the hunt for finding somebody to go with me because I got 2 tickets, and it was just a great feeling to actually win something like that. So at the time, I was working for a major company, well, you may have heard of it. It's called Pepsi Cola. I had my dad actually worked in there, and I was working in a completely different department. Got the job as like a consultant to work there over the summertime. So just making a little bit of money. It was a lot of money at that time. But yeah, I was working at Pepsi Cola down in Westchester. So when I had won the tickets, the first thing I had thought of was just, boy, how am I going to get there? I mean, I knew I had a car, and I wasn't sure, they were talking about, they were going to be really strict about making sure, people who didn't have tickets or couldn't get in, they were going to try to block them from coming in. And then, shortly before the festival took place, I had found out that Pepsi was a major sponsor of the festival. And come to find out, they actually they had chartered buses that were going. So not only had I won my tickets, but I also kind of became an accidental VIP because I got a bus ride up there. They gave us VIP credentials so we can get into certain areas of the festival, and had a bus ride home. So I had everything secured. I didn't have to worry about driving, didn't have to worry about traffic, didn't have to worry about none of that stuff. I could be on this bus, getting ready, getting excited to go to the festival with one of my good friends at the time, and just really enjoy myself. So the memories I have of Woodstock '94, it still to this day it feels fresh in my mind because it was just such a unique experience. I had never really been to a festival like this. I hadn't really gone to a lot of concerts before then, and was really excited to go and see certain acts that I was familiar with. So when my friend and I got there, we believe it or not, we had our tickets, and we showed our tickets, and we got in there, and apparently they had some designated areas for where you could pitch your tent, but nobody really had cared. They just kind of pitched their tent wherever they could. So, my friend and I pitched our tents right between the north and south stages, and I had taken some pictures to kind of show the sea of tents that were right out there in front of the stages. And I just remember feeling like, wow, there's a ton of people here. And then as the time went along, just making sure that we were getting to see all the different acts that we wanted to see. I remember waking up the next morning, and my friend went to go brush his teeth, and he comes back in, and he goes, hey, Joe Walsh from the Eagles is out there. I'm like, yeah, right. So I walked out there, I went to go brush my teeth because of these little areas where you can, breathe. And I saw this circle of people sitting around. There was this guy playing the guitar, and just like, yeah, that isn't Joe Walsh. And the guy stopped playing, he hands the guitar over to Joe Walsh. I go, that's Joe Walsh. So I was totally floored in the fact that you had somebody who was, very well known musically, just kind of sitting there and shooting the shit with people. So it was truly, a unique experience. I remember, waiting to go up and see, Joe Cocker was the opening act of the festival, and we went to the north stage, and I was about 10 rows of people back, and I had just gotten there, it was clean, I had a tie-dye shirt on, I had these John Lennon tinted, blue tinted glasses, and I remember I looked at this girl, and she looked back at me, she was covered in mud, she came up to me and gave me a big hug and took my glasses and went like this to get them all dirty. I'm just I feel like I had been initiated into the festival, so that was really interesting. And just remembering all the sea of people and all the press and stuff, and I did get a chance to see Joe Cocker. It was a great performance. And we went to go see, I was a big Peter Gabriel fan, and Yusu and Dor had come in, so I wanted to go see their show, and I got some shots of those. Saw Melissa Etheridge, just remembering seeing all these, great acts, but then also too, of course, with all the rain comes all the mud. And I remember thinking very distinctly, like, I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to go play in the mud because, it's kind of gross. And then I think next day I was like, somebody said like, yeah, peer pressure going on. And I gone down and slid down the hill, and I was just like, this is a lot of fun. And me and my friend we were going and playing in the mud for hours on end. But it was truly such an exhilarating experience. I remember also too, there were some things that were not so great. There was the mix of, artists from 1969's Woodstock to 94 Woodstock. And I remember they tried to bring in the crowds from like old, the first generation, the second generation. And I remember very, very vividly too, like there was a guy who had said he was from the first Woodstock. He's sitting on a cooler drinking a beer, and somebody came up to him and said like, "Hey man, you got a beer?" And the guy was just like, "Yeah, get away from me, and I'm not, sharing my beer and stuff." The food was not that great, and they cost a lot of money, so I think people are kind of a little bit ticked off about that. I remember also too, just like when I was leaving the concert to go and grab my ride back, that the town looked like Armageddon had just happened, like just trash everywhere and people wandering the streets like they were dazed and confused. And I think that it was just like I was truly just floored by like how much garbage that people had thrown out, or people leaving all their stuff and whatnot. And I was just like, I felt really kind of bad at the time. So certainly, not every memory was a great memory, but most of it was really good. How the festival affected my life, it opened me up to really kind of exploring more. You kind of tend to get, you're not sure what you get into when you're getting into your college life. You start to kind of build your life. It was kind of bringing yourself, from a kid to adulthood. And that process is not something that happens overnight. So going to the festival and seeing what was, I'd never really seen before, and like, these musical acts and going to these different places made me be more adventurous. I remember, going and chasing, other bands down to go see them in concerts, and, traveling to be able to see, friends of mine, all around, and it basically kind of made me less insecure about wanting to do this kind of stuff. And it was just like, it built my confidence. So it really helped, it was part of my life that helped shape me. So would I do anything different with regards to attending the festival? The answer to that is very clear to me. I was looking through, and I had seen that, the 30th anniversary was being celebrated, and I looked at the list of all the different acts that were there, and I'm thinking to myself, I didn't realize this person was there. I didn't realize this person was there. Oh my God, this person played there? And so at the time, I didn't know who those acts were. And looking back at it now, all these different acts that had come through that I now know about, boy, I wish I could have been there for those acts, because, people like Sheryl Crow. I love Sheryl Crow. I've been a big fan of hers for years, and did not realize that she was actually there in attendance. And I just truly wish I could have seen somebody like her in concert. So when I got home from Woodstock 94, I remember that I had, everything from playing in the mud and just walking around. I remember I had to basically like throw out my clothes. But I just know that when I got back to my college, I was telling all my friends about how awesome it was to attend Woodstock 94. For me, it was one of those once in a lifetime experiences. I didn't know if I was going to get to that kind of a pinnacle again. I think that people who attended the 1969 festival probably felt the same way, like there could never be another Woodstock. And certainly there, with the efforts they made in 94 to create this event, this became something that we owned as part of, my generation. And, the thought about, the original Woodstock might have been a little bit different. It had some similarities, and I think it had some differences too, but I think it was great for the organizers to look at it as just not be the same thing as it was in 69, but to make it evolve. And, sharing that with my friends and letting them know what a great experience it was. My friends would, they'd come to me and say like, "Oh man, that's great. I'm really glad you got a chance to go." or some people would say like, hey, I was there too, I didn't see you. Well, I mean, with the thousands of people that were there, I wouldn't have expected to run into anybody that I knew. So, but I mean, it was such a, it was a little bit life-changing for me, because it was just, I could say like I was there. I really got a chance to enjoy it.